On this episode, I sit down with Andrew Jevin, the snapping realtor out of Los Angeles. Today, we talk everything social media. What I found most interesting is that he is able to identify and break down the single biggest fear that stops most realtors from ever posting on social media. We also talk about, and he teaches how to identify your own cringe mountain and how to overcome it. We also cover why finding your authentic voice is paramount for attracting the perfect client. He also shares a few personal stories that you just don't want to miss. Now, before we get started, let's help you stay connected to top performing realtors across the nation by just simply hitting that subscribe button now. And without further ado, I'm your host and San Francisco connection, Sean Kunkel. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me today. I 100% appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Of course. So this is the way I always kick it off. If you watch any episodes, in a couple sentences, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Andrew Jevin. Many know me as the Snapping Realtor on Instagram and on TikTok and on Snapchat. I have been a real estate agent now for 8 years. I'm a founding member of the Santa Monica Compass office. So I'm coming up on 5 years being with Compass. And I'm also a dad to a doodle. I love to travel. I love drinking Cabernet. Big Napa Cabs are my favorite. I love Italian food. And I'm an introvert in an extrovert's body.
I love that you say that, because if you go to your social media, no one would know.
But when they see me at a Compass retreat, or when they see me when I come to offices and do workshops, if I'm not on stage doing it and they see me afterwards, or if they see me at like the Compass retreat, I usually like want to blend into the wallpaper or the wall on the side, and I don't want people to know who I am, because I get so shy in big crowds.
That's interesting. I, believe it or not, doing this, like putting myself out there and sitting with all these people, I'm the same way. I'm fine on stage. I'm fine if I'm giving a presentation, but as soon as you put me on the floor and I have to spontaneously talk to groups of people, it's so uncomfortable. It's 100% uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, I've gone to every retreat now since I joined, so it's been 5 of them now. This San Diego will be my 5th Compass retreat, and it's funny. Like I've usually spoken at them, or I'm on panels, and then when I see people out and about at like the gala or the other events or in between sessions, and people see me, like I think they expect that they're going to see what I'm a little bit more active on film than I am in real life. I'm actually quite quiet. I observe a lot, and I'm quite shy. It takes a lot for me to just like kind of come out of my shell.
I think that's fascinating. I mean, with both of us, we're clearly putting ourselves out there on social media. And I would say the number one thing I hear, I'm sure you'll have an opinion on this, is people don't do it because they're shy or they don't know what to talk about.
And most people are not comfortable in their own skin. They don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they sound. They don't look like the way that their hair looks. Their wrinkles. They have gray hair now. Their voice. They don't like the way their voice sounds. So that's why they don't put themselves out there. They're so scared. Agents in particular are so scared of what other people are going to think. And that, I think that's in general as a human, all humans think that, but agents in particular, I've realized over the past few years, really do not like the way that they look.
It's true. I mean, I would agree. We all have that. Like you look at photos and you're like, I wish, and then you fill in the blank. Have you ever heard of the spotlight effect?
No.
So I don't know if that's actually the right term. Somebody can Google it and confirm it, but it's essentially where, let's say you go into a room or a group of people and you feel that the spotlight's on you and everybody's noticing that one blemish that you have that you're self-conscious about. But the reality is everybody in that room is also doing the same thing. So the spotlight effect is you think it's on you, but it's actually on all the other people because they're self-absorbed, worrying about that same thing that they think is not perfect either.
That's so true. That's so true.
How do you get past yourself? Like, how did you, when you first started considering social media when you were at that, like, I know this is important, I know I need to do this. How did you get past yourself, get out of your own way to do it, to execute?
I'm still not past myself. To be honest, I'm not
Really?
past myself at all. I call it Cringe Mountain. You're going up and you're going up, and things are like you see other agents on Instagram doing things like real like lip syncing reels or things that are cringy, and then you want to do it and you get that imposter syndrome and you're like, well, all the other agents are doing it, so like I'm just like copying what they're doing. Then like you start doing it, and maybe like even me with the brand that I've built on there, like I'll do something that I think is gonna hit, and then like I'll have like a couple hundred likes, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm a failure now. Nobody cares about me on social media. They're sick of me. I get those same thoughts, but then I also like know the other side of Cringe Mountain is usually like when I'm more authentic and I'm more myself, the DMs I get from people, from other agents, or the conversations that I have in real life than when I meet other agents or just people in general, like people in my sphere, my clients, my past clients, and them coming up and saying how relatable something I shared was. That helps you then get some confidence so that you start going over Cringe Mountain. But then, something the next day could happen in Cringe Mountains again. You're climbing up Cringe Mountain. I never did anything traditional. Like I tried door knocking, cold calling expireds, calling cancellations. I mean, just doing all of that stuff. And it made me inside feel so like empty. I wanted to build a brand on social media so bad. And to do that, I have to be consistent and I have to be vulnerable and I have to be my authentic self. And by sharing more and more of that, my brand has grown, my business has grown. I now have multiple businesses because of it. And that's why I just keep doing it. But it never ends. It just gets easier and easier and easier.
That's really cool. I have huge respect for to constantly face the cringe, but understanding that there's benefit on the other side of it and knowing that it's just going to keep coming up and working through it and past it. And I would say, I mean, you have clearly on Instagram a very significant amount of followers, and your authenticity, that's why I reached out to you. It truly comes through. Like it doesn't, there's definitely people out there where it's either all look what I sold this week, look what I sold yesterday, look at this amazing house. It's very sterile and or it's very siloed, and I can't, as the consumer, I'm not, there's no bond, I'm not connecting at all. And it's great, they're posting every day, but there's no, there's it's the substance behind it. So how did you, to get to your brand, to figure out, to find your voice within this, how'd you get there?
I got my license. It will be 8 years this summer. And I joined Keller Williams, like many do in different markets. And I have no problem with Keller Williams. They have a great training program. I remember joining and being there on the first day of the Ignite training program. And they made us the productivity coach made us take out our phone and we had to go through our contacts. And she said we have to call each person and tell them we just got into real estate. And it was 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. I will never forget this for the rest of my life. I tell this story almost every day. And I froze. I literally like just froze. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, maybe this is not for me. Like, I don't think I'm meant for this business. Like, if that's what we have to do. And I started calling my friends because she made me, and nobody answered because they're all working. And they would text me back right away and they'd be like, oh my God, Andrew, I missed your call. Is everything okay? And I'm like, long story, I'll talk about it later. And then I know, the next week I went in there, I'd go on Snap. I would go outside. I'm like, I'm going to go make my calls outside. And I would actually go on Snapchat and I would send my friends snaps. And I got immediate engagement back. Like legit, they would be like, oh my God, congrats, you're going to kill it. We can't afford a place in LA right now, but when the time comes, you're our guy. And I realized in that moment, literally in that moment, that, whoa, I can do things a different way if I want to. And this was in like 2015. So I started using Snapchat, and that's where the snapping realtor came from. Many people don't know the actual reason for that name, but it came because I was on Snapchat and I would go out on brokers caravans and post on my Snap about the houses that I saw. And over time, like, Instagram got bigger and bigger. And then Instagram stories came out in 2016. And that's when that's for me when I started using Instagram in particular for my business. And then I would say, like, within a year or two of being consistent, I started selling, like, I think I was selling like probably at least 10, 12, 13 million in real estate at that point then. And it was all like within my sphere. But I always tell people it was within my sphere, but it all came back to me being in front of them on Instagram.
So I started with Keller Williams. I started with them because I thought they had a really great, a lot of teaching tools. They were going to get me from, in the first 6 months, they were going to give me the maximum amount of education to get me started. But in my market, a little bit more luxury, higher price point, it didn't feel right to be hitting everybody over the head of, do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? Do you want to buy? How about today? Do you want to buy? It wasn't, same with me. It wasn't resonating with me. And I wanted to take a more elegant approach. And in social media, if you're not just begging for business and you're taking a more elegant approach, you're top of mind, but people are hanging out with you because you're giving them variety, which is you. Like that, you're being authentic.
They want to be a part of your tribe. Like, they want to be a part of what's going on, what you do. Like, just even like what restaurants you're going to, they're inspired by. Your trips, they're inspired by. Like, they really do not care about real estate. That's like, I tell agents that all the time. Like, we as real estate agents do not have the best reputation. People do not, they think we're overpaid. They don't see the value in us. They don't trust us. I think social media, and specifically Instagram for me, is a way to show that I'm a person, and I'm a person that can be trustworthy, authentic, be your friend, but also, be your trusted advisor at the same time, and be a part of like your life. Like, I always say to my, I hate the saying, like, when agents say this, but like, it's kind of true, is like, when my clients become my clients, like, they become not just my clients for life, but they become like my friends for life.
My business philosophy within the team is we lead with relationship. And if anybody listens to this podcast on regular, I say it to nauseum, but it's true. And if you're hanging out with your friend, your best friend, and you're only talking about one thing every single time, and the one thing you're talking about, they're asking you for a favor, they're not going to be your best friend for much longer. Like, it's going to wear itself out. And so the variety aspect is incredibly important. Rebecca Donatelli, she was actually my very first guest on the podcast, and she is huge on social media, and her number one platform is Instagram. And then she said her Instagram page exploded once she started getting personal and just stopped talking about real estate, but weaving in her life, which had aspects of real estate, but not just real estate. And that's what yours, like, if anybody is inclined and they go to your Instagram page, which I would encourage them to do, and then follow, you'll notice it's not just, look how awesome I am, I sold this. Look how awesome I'm over here, I sold this. It's these little mini personal experiences.
I've been saying this literally for 6 years. It's 80% personal, 20% your business is my page. And a lot of my real estate actually goes on my stories, because I feel like that's where I'm getting more of like that engagement from. And like, that's where I can actually get businesses more through a story than an actual, just a single reel or a single just sold post that literally nobody sees these days, because nobody cares. Like, I think last year was my best year I'm a solo agent. I sold, I think, 22 million last year, and I did not do one post about that. Not one post. I might have shared like a little blurb about it in my, I think my personality and my overall just brand speak for itself. I don't subscribe to that, I've sold over 100 homes and all this stuff. Like, I was like filling out the questionnaire that you sent, and they're like, oh shit, I don't even know this answer. I don't even know this answer. But last year, like, my sales manager said, like, we're submitting you for that, the Real Trends report. And I'm like,
Congrats.
I don't even know what that
Congratulations.
is.
That's
And
huge.
thank you. And like, I really like legit don't even, I don't care about any of that stuff. Cause like, I really care about just like the networking, community connections, and I come about it from such a different angle than most agents. And I try to inspire now agents to see the other side, because I think literally like this career, this profession is so mentally draining. But if you can kind of get more into the community and the personal aspect of this, that I think that that could help with that drain. Because I'm not like one of those people that are like, oh, the hustle culture. I do not like. I don't subscribe to that whatsoever.
Thankfully, that's phasing out.
Thank God.
It was a little much.
Gen Z's helping us with that one.
More vacations.
uh,
Yeah. Unfortunately, in real estate, if you want to be business or busy, super busy, just plan a vacation. And the second you are at the airport, you're going to have like 4 deals every time.
every time.
I really appreciate the 80/20. That's, I think that's a fantastic takeaway for somebody. And what's cool about that and cool about what you just shared is, again, if we talk about that spotlight effect, is if you're then catering to your audience who's looking at it 80% of the time, and you're actually talking about the things that they care about, not what you care about, you get more followers. Profound, I know, but
Yeah, more engagement. More conversations.
you may not get a sale. And I know this from my social. I'm definitely not remotely as big as you on any of the social. But when you have that opportunity for a conversation, that's amazing. And I think within that, the cool piece, and I'm sure you've gotten this when people meet you and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I know you. I'm like, that's cool, because I feel like I did a really great job of being myself so people can actually connect with who I am, not just what I do.
100%. I was doing my social media workshop in one of the Chicago suburbs offices. And on my way out, I was just like thanking the sales manager. And I heard these two agents go into their office and they said, oh my God, he's in real life. He's just like he is on Instagram. And that was legit, probably the best compliment I've heard in years about myself. And that meant that I am being my authentic self on this platform. As shy as I am in person, though, I still am myself. It's just more in crowds that I shut down. But I am myself. And like, that's last year of the 22 million, 65% of that came from agent to agent referral. And that all came from Instagram, because people, agents, and I'm really huge on, like, I care more about like the agent to agent relationship than any relationship. To me is the most important right now on my social. And I think agents fail to see the importance and what can happen when you really focus on that. Because I mean, my business, like my business would not have been as busy last year if I didn't have those referrals. And even the last couple, I mean, we've talked this week about like business being a little bit slower here on the West Coast right now. Thank God, like the business and the buyers that I do have are coming in from referrals, because they're people that have to move here for work, and another Compass agent or another agent from another brokerage is thinking of me. I know, I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, just like you. There are thousands, tens of thousands of real estate agents, right? But I at least want to be in like the top 3 that people think of when they think of a real estate agent in Los Angeles.
Yeah, my numbers in San Francisco, they're terrifying. There's 6,000 licenses. That's 5,999 other people they could pick. That's a staggering number.
Yeah.
And to your point, I went after the same formula. Is I realized that buyers and sellers are not cruising Instagram to go hang out with realtors, and the only people who follow realtors are realtors. So just start talking to realtors. And that's, honestly, that is the whole crux of Realtor 180 is if I can sit down with you, Andrew, and figure out what you're doing to crush it on social media, and somebody in insert any state in the US can glean something amazing from what you had to share and then execute and grow their business. That's my community. I think that's like, that's why I'm doing that. That's my gift. It's like, oh, if I can just connect these dots and help help all these other people. You know, a rising tide lifts all ships, and it's that same, like, how do we basically just elevate our community here and connect these dots?
What's been so cool about like the agent to agent and showing that is like I actually show that to my clients and my friends now. See my relationship with agents and how, and it helps change the narrative of what agents, what value we bring to a transaction. Because I always tell my clients, I said, you don't realize the most important part of this transaction 90% of the time is the agent to agent relationship.
For sure.
It's our relationship in the transaction that's, whether that's when we're getting the offer accepted, whether that's when request for repairs goes awry, an appraisal issue, getting to the closing table. And it's so cool when I'm with my clients or they go to open houses even without me and they tell an agent that I'm their agent and that agent knows me from social media. It makes then my clients feel safe and good and that they're in good hands because they're like, oh my God, this agent said hi. I'm like, and then I can text that agent and be like, hey, I think we're going to be writing an offer. Can I give you a call tomorrow? And that's what I love so much about the agent to agent relationship, but showing that agent to agent relationship and how important it is to our sphere, to our clients, because then they start seeing, oh wow, there is value to your 5 or 6% commission that you're getting, because people don't understand the value, and I never understood the value until I started becoming an agent. I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on with these commissions.
There is nuance to being known in the community and then also having a good reputation. And it is way easier, to your point, if you can work with the other agent, you two are on the same page, and you already know them, meaning you understand what their approach is. Are they just like a zero sum negotiator? Are they collaborative? Like, if you know in advance, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be a fiduciary for your clients. And the other layer to that is, if I'm in San Francisco, you're in LA, and if I have a client moving down to LA, I'm also playing matchmaker. I want to make sure not only is that agent awesome and going to do a great job, but will my client actually click with them? Will my client trust and have real conversations so they can work together at a much higher level? And so that's where that social media, being authentic, that plays in so incredibly, because if the referring agent already understands who you are, it's a way easier process for both sides.
And that's why I tell people, I say, I'm not going to be the perfect fit for everybody. I don't want to be either, because I want to be with people that I don't dress up. I don't like wearing suits. I feel very uncomfortable in them. It's never been my thing. I legit wear joggers and usually a hoodie or a black hoodie when I'm out and about. Like, none of my sphere, my clients, my people, or people that refer, they know that going in. But if you had a referral that's going to want somebody that's a little bit more buttoned up, I'm not probably most likely I'm not going to be their guy, and that's okay. But that from my social media, that from getting to know me, and like I'm my specialty is the first time home buyer, the more casual of like it's like an HGTV episode really of just like me being more of like coming off as a friend versus like that tightened up luxury guy. Like that's just not me. It's never been me. I don't ever want it to be me.
Like, knowing who you are identifies your brand. And I think, and of course weigh in on this, but I think people in almost, I don't want to say an insecure way, but they want to try to cater to everybody. But the real confidence comes in when this is who I attract and this is actually who I repel. And I don't want to work with those people. I actually want to work with these people because they're already attracted to me.
Yep.
I think when you're new or you're putting yourself out there in social media, here's the group I'm repelling, that's really hard in the beginning. I know it was for me, because I was like, I just want to make deals. So I want everybody. It'd be like a dentist saying, I only work with people with teeth. It's like, okay, that's way too big. like let's specialize. Do you only want to work with children, or do you want to work with just adults? And within that, do you have a specialty? Like, you literally have to drill down to figure out what's your niche and where is your niche? What's the price point of your niche?
I did the biggest disservice that I ever did to myself when I started on social media, specifically on Snapchat. And I would go out on brokers' caravans and I would go to, these 20, 30, 40, $50 million homes just because they look so great on Instagram and on your stories and people love them. A year into doing that, I would see friends out or people in my life and learn that they bought a condo or they bought a house. And I'm like, oh my God, you didn't you didn't call me? And they're like, well, I would never say that, but they would say, we figured, you only deal with luxury. You only do luxury. Well, let me tell you something. I sure would have held to get their $1.5 million condo that they bought in West Hollywood, but because I was showing and I made it seem that I was only doing luxury, that I lost a lot of business. And I learned a lesson that year that I needed to post. I consider a lot of that luxury, like a 20, 30, $40 million home. That's aspirational content. But I also need to do the inspirational content, the stuff that they can achieve just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
I lost out on a huge part of my business because of that.
It's great that you recognized it, but those learnings definitely, they don't feel good. I had a similar. So I wrote a book, The Insider's Guide to Home Buying, the San Francisco edition. I had a lot of my messaging crafted around working with buyers. And then thankfully it wasn't a loss of a sale per se, but I had clients. I was around the corner from where they had purchased, and I was selling the property. And they came in and they literally said, I didn't know you sell properties too. And I was like, oh shoot. I realized in that split second moment, all my marketing was towards buyers only. And I'm missing this other huge section of the market. And so I went back and started reintroducing and reevaluating. And those moments are incredibly important to hear. You have to hear people or look how they're engaging with you, or just go back and really do an authentic audit. Not looking at, oh, I wish I didn't wear that suit in that, that post, but really looking at it is what message is going out? What are people actually, from my business perspective, what are they hearing? And that's important.
And reminding people what you do. If you are maybe heavily onto a listings right now, maybe jumping on and reminding people that you also help buyers too, And I'm struggling with that in real life right now because I have an online course that I teach real estate agents how to use Instagram. I go around and do social media workshops. I do boot camps for realtors. Some of my clients, literally my friends, have been like, did you stop selling real estate? That was an aha moment for me. I said, oh shit, I need to start reminding people that I still do that. I still do real estate, but this is another part of my brand now. And, there are going to be some people that will be turned off, that they don't think that, but to me, this brand is bigger than selling real estate to me. And that's what's the most important. And I only want to work with clients that understand that. So there'll be some people that are, again, not for me, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Some of my clients understand and they see the value of what I'm doing and they're inspired by it and want to be a part of it.
I'm struggling with similar growing pains. I have me, Sean Kunkler, that's, as I'm presented to my clients and to guests and people on the show and things of that nature. And then I have my team, which is Homeward Associates, that does real estate transactions. And then I have this whole show, which is Realtor180. And the audiences are completely different. And these are my growing pains. So if you have any observations, feel free to ping me at any point and just be like, hey man, this is going astray. Reel it in.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the past few months is just reminding people. And for instance, I was in New York doing I go to New York once a month and do a couple workshops there in the region. And I was there, and one of my good friends here in LA, he's my VIP client. He's either sold or referred me over 20, 25 million over the years in real estate. And he saw that I was there. He was there for work, and he's like, oh my God, are you here for work too? And I said, yeah. And he's like, let's go see a Broadway show. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll grab, I'll get the tickets. And he's like, okay, I'll make reservations for dinner afterwards. So I get down to the theater. It was a matinee. He was already in a seat. I was on the Upper West Side giving a presentation. So I was like, I got there a little bit later than I was going to meet him, but it was still before the show. And I sat down and he said, I just have to say how proud I am. Like, he's like, are you here doing your social media workshops? I said, yeah. And he's like, man, he's like, you are just killing it with that. And then he said, he's like, you're the only person that I follow that's a friend that owns a business that I haven't muted on Instagram.
That is the biggest compliment right there.
It was a big aha moment that I've been telling agents now for the last couple of weeks. When I see it, like when I give this presentation, I've added this slide and I said, people are muting us if we're too salesy and annoying. They're muting us. And then at dinner that night, like all of a sudden he's like sending me homes that he has favorited on Zillow. He's like, I know. He's like, I still got to wait 2 more years to buy the next home. He's like, but this is the stuff I'm looking at. So, and then like a week later, he sent me another home that came on the market. So he still knows that I do these social media workshops, but we have such a great connection and he still refers me out. He's still sending me homes. So I know in, 2 years, he'll probably be buying his $4 million home and I'll be selling his $3 million home. And it's because I'm being my authentic self and he knows that I do both and it's a brand and he respects that. And I just always I try to make anytime I'm with someone in real life and just like a one-on-one, I try to make them feel seen and heard as much as possible. So that they do really feel like that's like one of my biggest things is like, I want you to be seen and heard. So, that we have like a deep connection that when you see all the other things on social media or you see me presenting in front of 100 people or on a podcast talking about social media, I am still a real estate agent.
It's just such an inspiring story on so many levels. It really is. And it's also really beautiful to have friends and colleagues who cheer you on as you're growing through life, which I think that's some people in life are checks and some are bills. And it's great when you can surround yourself with the checks. It's so cool. Like on so many levels. I'd love to hear that side of it when people are like cheering you on and they're acknowledging what you're doing.
Most real estate agents want to do more than just be a real estate agent. They want to have a podcast. They want to do this. But they're so scared to like find a passion as well. And I view real estate as like, this is just a part of my brand. My brand is, I can bring my brand to whatever I end up doing because I have the tribe now behind me that cares about me. I spent my 20s. I mean, I was out here for acting. So basically I was working at a restaurant every day. So many people in my sphere and my friends and like even agents in this, they saw this journey over the last 10 years. They saw from me doing drugs and my dad dying and everything falling apart around that to now 10 years later, where I'm at now with 3 companies. I just bought a house, like, and I know that my friends and my sphere and just my tribe, like, they're so proud of me and they've been a part, and I make sure that they know they've been a part of every single thing I do.
That's very inspiring.
Yeah.
So much so. So what are these 3 companies? This is news to me.
Yeah. So I have obviously my real estate company, and then I have my online course. So that is where I teach real estate agents how to use Instagram, particularly getting on camera and doing reels. And then I'm also an influencer. So I get paid from different companies and brands to create content. Either that's on my page or I create content for their brands and it's on their page, or I consult. Good
for you. That is, I know all of those components. I mean, each one is your 3 CEOs. I mean, that's a lot of work, a lot of balancing, a lot of juggling. So if a realtor is thinking about starting, they're thinking about getting started and building out their social media, what's like the very first thing you would recommend?
Talking to the camera. And honestly, you don't even have to make a reel. Just talk to the camera and make a story, Instagram stories, and just talk to the camera. Just put yourself out there. don't like I mean there are so many agents because I follow a lot of agents. I interact with agents all the time. I go on their page and I have no idea what they look like. I have no idea what they sound like. I've seen they're just solds, they're just listed, but their reminder that it's daylight savings time. We all know that at this point. We don't need a reminder, at least a static post that nobody sees. Like it could be in your car and saying, "Hey guys, I just it's Friday. I hope you guys all have, like as we're filming this on a Friday. I don't know what day it will come out, but like it's Friday. I just wanted to hop on here and tell you guys like have a great weekend. Post it, be done." You'd be so surprised at like the amount of responses that you will get from a story like that. And that's what I would start today is just getting comfortable being uncomfortable and vulnerable and authentic and reminding you that it does not happen overnight.
In addition to, it's a skill. And so as you do it, you'll get better and you'll get more comfortable. Like we jokingly talked about, you were talking about doing a podcast, and I was sharing with you that I'm not going to be hard on myself with any of this podcast until I have interviewed 100 guests, which gives me a huge runway to make a lot of mistakes and just really give myself a ton of permission to try different things, set up different formats, ask different questions, and just it gives you a lot more freedom if you set up the rules.
Yeah.
To have forgiveness. I love that you're gonna go. It's gonna be a roller coaster. You're gonna go up Cringe Mountain. Just expect that. Just know it. Right? Just know that's on the road ahead. And I love that. It's Friday. Have a great weekend. Done. And there's no sales pitch.
Don't look at it. I'll tell you, I've been telling this story a lot lately, and I used to like this was more recently that I would more be a little bit more personal and just talking to my phone on my Instagram stories. And then I would like listen to myself afterwards. I would get so self-conscious and in my head that my voice wasn't masculine enough. Like, and that was my own judgments, and that's my own inner dialogue noises going on in my head. And I remind agents like that happens to me, even like that could happen to me today. I might talk to the camera and I might have that voice, or I might have that voice of what's going on with your hair? Like, why is it going in that direction? Or, before I did this whole boy band look here, I'm in my boy band phase. Like I saw some grays coming in on the side and I was like, oh my God, I'm like getting grays. So I understand all of that. Like, those noises come in, but then I also just, now I try and get into a habit. I just do it and I don't look and I just let it go. And ever since I've been doing that more and more, the conversations that I have with people, the conversations that I'm having in my DMs, like will make you cry, like legit make me cry, like tear up, like whether that's a sad or a positive one. And then that happens like when I meet people in real life, like those conversations start again of just like, this, I posted a reel a couple months ago, talking about the celebration of, well, not the celebration, but like honoring my dad, the 10-year, my dad's dying 10 years ago and getting a tattoo and like the meaning behind it. And like so many conversations I've had in my DMs about people losing parents or legit, I posted that reel and like one agent DM'd me and said like, I just lost my mom last night. You don't realize how powerful this was to me to hear today. And like I'm getting like goosebumps, like just even thinking about that. Or like then when you're with people in real life, like it just is brought up and you don't realize every single one of us, and this is whether we're an agent or not, like the power that we have to impact and influence and inspire people by just being ourselves.
It's so true. I mean, we're all having a human experience, and sometimes we're suffering. And it's sometimes when you see somebody who's gotten through it or in it and they're breaking through and they're figuring it out, it's sometimes just inspiring to know I'm not alone. Like there's other people who are like me and they're also working through this. And it sounds strange, but it gives you permission to proceed, if that makes sense. And I saw your posts. It was incredibly moving. And actually I saw it and then that's when I picked up the phone and called you and was like, hey man, you have to be a guest on my show. And you were like, all right. Which I thought was, I love when people have enthusiasm to just they leap and then they look. I have mad respect for people like that. But you had talked about your dad not wanting a funeral or a wake, and you had this bottle that represented a dinner, and the post. It obviously stuck with me. It was just very moving, and it made me reflect on my life and people that I've lost, and it I connected. And I will also say, in addition to, there was no, and I sold this house. Do you want to buy a house today?
Yeah. No.
You saying, "Hey, this was my experience," and it was, and this word gets used too much, but it was very authentic. It just felt very real, which I think is cool, and not everybody hits the mark on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I personally feel that's one of the uniques with yours. And then there's other agents who have a different approach, and it's still awesome.
Yep.
Taya.
Wow, she's one of my best friends.
Really? I've been trying to get her on the show.
She's one of my best friends. I was just with her yesterday.
I love her social. That's why I want to have her on. Her social it's amazing. It's a completely different brand. It's her brand, and it's beautifully executed. It could not have been executed any better. And I think that's what's super cool about it is within the chaos of social media, you find your tribes. Like you find these people who are doing cool things. And if you then the agent working on social media start trying stuff and figuring out this is my brand, this feels cool, I like doing this, it'll emerge. It'll come through over time, but it takes time, consistency.
That's what I mean. Taya and I, we talk about this all the time. And we say, like, this did not just happen overnight. This did not just happen over a year. I mean, you can go through our Instagram and go all the way back to 2016, like, and you can see just how both of us have evolved, as the brands that we've become. It's funny when you go to a retreat, and Taya and I usually are together, but she's very much more extroverted. And I'm very much more like quiet, like want to go back to my room. But she helps bring me out of my shell in there. But I mean, like the gag, like I hate saying the gaggle, but like the women, the moms that are just so inspired by that, like they will just like be like all over her, like just wanting to be in her presence. And it's so, to me, I love watching it because I think it's like so funny that if you know the shit show that her and I are when we're together and there's no Instagram and there's no cameras on, people would be like, oh my God, they're so weird. Like, why are they just dancing around to Britney Spears all until 3:00 in the morning? But that's what we do. It's just like really cool to see, and like how she's got a whole separate brand, but she's finding her unique voice doing it. And we're all, and my goal in just helping agents is, you might not want to do the funny lip syncs. You might not want to do the more lighter stuff, but all I'm encouraging you to do is just get on camera more. Just get on camera and show up, because when you start doing that, what happens is confidence builds up, community builds up, that agent to agent relationship builds up, and then over time, you start getting actual business from it.
Listen, I'll be the first to admit all my feeds suck. I always say I just don't have the time, but I don't intentionally put the time towards it. And it's hard. Like you have to be very intentional. And that's my personal challenge. But this is also my format. Like I feel this is my wheelhouse. This is where I feel super comfortable hanging out with people, talking about their business and learning about, like, this is my social media. Like this is my creative outlet. And so I think finding it, that's the tricky part.
And sometimes you have to test things out to see if that hits. You got to hit, like, some people are really killing it on YouTube right now. They are killing it on YouTube. Some people are killing it on TikTok right now. And then some agents want to do it all. And I always say, just start with one, see if that works. If that doesn't work, move on. But you got to put in the work to see if it works. And that work usually takes a couple months. But I still believe that out of all of this stuff, that Instagram is still number one, because Instagram is the best for your community, local businesses, people who don't know who you are. Like the other night I was at a restaurant, I tagged the restaurant, they shared it on their story. Now I'm in front of that restaurant's followers. Their followers tend to be hyper local. Um, it's Instagram's the best for the agent to agent relationship than any other platform on there because you're building connections with people. You're in their face. It's the best for your sphere, for your friends, because they're always seeing what you're doing. I truly believe if there's one platform to focus on, it would be Instagram right now. And it's been like that for a couple of years. And what I also love about Instagram so much is that anytime there's competition, like there was Snapchat competition, Instagram brought out stories. In 2020, TikTok was big. Instagram brought out Reels. So Instagram for us is a great is a great just overall platform. But I also remind people that none of these platforms, we do not own any of this land that we're playing on. So whatever platform it is that you're playing on, you need to figure out a way to get email addresses. Because at any point in time, any of these things could go down, could go poof, gone, shut down, or not worked. But at least if you own it, you get someone's email address, whether that's an agent, a business, a client, sphere, friend, that's something that you can take on to whatever the next big thing happens. And I remind people, I say, get those email addresses.
I echo that. In fact, I had my Instagram a couple years ago. I had about 6,000 followers, and I had a social media person helping post. I don't know what funny business happened or happening. It was happening, but I got banned. I got my account unlocked, and then I got banned and deleted. And then I had to reset, and then that one got banned. And then I had to reset, and now this is my third Instagram account, and I'm so bitter about it. That's why
PTSD.
I virtually put no energy in it, and so I really appreciate you sharing. Just capture emails, because you're right. You have to have another vehicle. You have to be able to still communicate with people or let them know where you're going. There was a lender who I had on the show who actually hosted a social media event in San Francisco. And Taya, that's how I actually originally heard of her. She was on the panel. And he said, "Oh my God, you have to talk to her. She would be amazing on this show." And so then I looked her up and connected. But he had Arjun Dingray. He had like north of like 300,000 followers. And he was having all kinds of problems with his account and wound up having to start from zero. And so, to your point, have a plan B.
It's all rented land.
It's rented land. I like that.
Yep.
Andrew, this has been amazing. I sincerely appreciate all the layers that you've shared. I personally want to go back and re-listen to it. I'm going to try not to listen to myself because we get self-conscious, but no, there's really great nuggets. And it's funny. I was like jotting things down as you were talking. I'm like, oh yeah, the 80-20, that's a really good rule. Cringe Mountain, it's a real thing. Don't worry about it. If somebody wants to look you up and learn more about your course or refer a client, what's the absolute best way for them to find you?
Just follow me on Instagram, The Snapping Realtor. I have a link in bio that's got all the information for my courses, for ways to get in touch with me for whether that's real estate wise or reels wise or one-on-one coaching. Everything's going to be in that link in bio. And then also I'm on TikTok as Snapping Realtor because there wasn't enough characters to put the snapping. And this summer, my goal is to put a little bit more intention behind TikTok because I did that a little bit a couple of years ago, and then I just it was too much. So I want to focus on that a little bit because I got Instagram down. But that's where you can find me. And honestly, DM me. People text me, call me. I'm always here to answer questions and help.
I appreciate that. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sean. I look forward to I don't know if I'm going to listen to it because, again, I can't stand listening to my voice. But I'm going to, you know what? I will listen to it. Before I share it, I'm going to listen to it. And I'm going to, I'm excited to share this podcast and share this episode with you. Thank you so much for just inspiring me just as much.
Thank you.